What's up, guys? Fishing today. Go figure. It's a little bit different. It's not just a fishing video. We're gonna do an overview about the Cotter rods 807 that I've been fishing for the last 6 months now, and I have been fishing for 6 months because in January and February, or in January, I got to pike fish with it, so it's 6 months. Today, we're gonna hopefully catch some bowfin. I think I'm gonna start off with the top frog because it's kind of a top watery day, and they'll come up and eat on the surface. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna walk this boardwalk, maybe walk it 2 or 3 times down back. It's pretty shallow. The water's really low, so I might not catch anything, but that's okay because that's not the base of this video. The base of this video is reviewing the rod. So I'm gonna get all that stuff tied up. I'm gonna walk, put the GoPro on, hopefully catch a bowfin or two. If we do, that's cool. If not, we'll just get right into the rod review. Probably gonna do the rod review out here because it's a really nice day. I brought my tripod and there's nobody walking around. Not that I care. They'd probably think I'm crazy or something, but what do I care? So let's throw the GoPro on, let's tie on that top frog, and let's hopefully go catch a bowfin up on the surface. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? All right, let's go, guys. Alrighty, I lied. I think I left that top frog at home, which sucks. So I'm gonna fish the Polaris 147 from Hispano Lures over there in Spain. It's kind of a top water floating bait, so we'll try that. Like I said, this video is not based on catching fish. It's based on doing a review. But if we catch fish, that'll be pretty cool. Again, as I reiterate that part. Okay, I got that thing tied on already, so we can just go right out there, which is kind of nice. So let's hopefully lay into a fish or two, and then we'll get this review out of the way because it's a super awesome rod. I freaking love this thing. I use it for everything. So a lot of you guys have been asking me questions about the 807, and if I can give my thoughts 6 months after using it, I think it'll kind of set you guys up for the questions and maybe the concerns you guys have about it. So let's go. Let's lay into a few. Hopefully, I'm not even gonna act like we're not. Let's go lay into a few. But first, let's have a sip of coffee. Okay, now we can go. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. Oh my gosh. Oh no! Oh no. Man, I'm shaking so bad now. Oh no. I doubt that one will eat again. Here he comes. Right at the bank. I can't even see my bait. Dang it, dude. Alrighty, now for the nitty-gritty part of the video. I don't know, those bowfin were being so tricky today. No hooks, but it's a very common theme, unfortunately. I think I've got a different way of attacking this place tomorrow, or maybe throughout the week, so pretty excited about that. But for the main part of the video, the rod breakdown, this is the Cotter Rod 807. I made this video when I first got it, talking about everything that I was excited for, and that was pretty much the precursor to everything I enjoy about this rod. When I grabbed it out of the tube, I should say, I pretty much knew what I liked about the rod, like that. It's a very, not even necessarily a simple rod, but it's just like, it's exactly what I look for in a rod. I know it sounds like I'm trying to sell you guys on a rod, but it really is a good rod. So the first thing I will break down, because I do have some questions, or I do get some questions like in the DMs about this, the cork. I talked about treating the cork in that video, never got around to it. I work in a fabrication shop, a welding shop, steel shop, whatever you want to call it. I work on my truck a decent amount and work on other people's cars a decent amount as well. So my hands are never, you know, super squeaky clean, and I thought that was going to be a problem. I guess I don't really remember exactly what the cork looked like when I first got it, but it's kind of got this grungy, like tinted color to it. I really like it actually. I haven't had any problems with it. If you guys really want to clean it, if you have a cork rod, you can just take a magic eraser. It will dry the cork out, but you'll have a clean cork. So never got around to curing this, but I don't mind. I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. I'm not as worried about it as I thought I was going to be. For some reason, I had in my mind that this was going to dry out within a season and crack, and I was going to have to get it recorked, but no, that hasn't been the problem. So if you guys get one of these with the cork handles, don't feel like you have to treat it, because so far mine has held up pretty good. And you know, like I said, if it is dirty, you can just wipe it off and it'll look pretty dang new. The other thing I don't think I talked about in the actual video when I got the rod was the rubber, or like it's like a foam around the actual blank right next to the hook keeper, and that is super nice because it cuts down on the actual hook points you leave on your blank. If you guys look at some of the other rods I have, there is hook points from trouble hooks and stuff from just bouncing around. Much like a rod gets hook rash, your rod gets hook rash too. So that piece of foam, I overlooked it when I first got the rod, but it has come in really handy. There's really no dings or scrapes on this rod between this area, so I really chalk it up for this piece of plastic being here, piece of rubber, piece of foam, whatever the heck it is. But yeah, I think that has saved this blank a lot of headache from hooks rubbing up against it and boat rash and whatever else it may be. So that is another thing I really like. I came around to liking it. I was never like sold on it until I realized how often I just have a bait on here jingling around when I'm driving. My rods are pretty much always in my truck, so there's always hook points, you know, jabbing into the rods and stuff. So that little rubber keeper, I think, has saved me a decent amount of hook rash on this rod, so it still looks pretty dang new. Another big thing I like, and I've liked on a couple different rods now, and I think if people are making swim bait rods, they need to make them with these double screw locks, because you know, I don't think maybe I've taken this reel off once since I gotten it, but it's still as tight as it was when I put it on there 6 months ago. I like it. There's no play in the reel. There's really nothing that scares me when I set the hook on a big fish or whatever else it may be. I'm not worried about, you guys have seen those reels, like the Instagram reels, like where guys set the hook and the reels just blow off. Like, that's not going to happen with these double screw lock seats. It's super nice. I don't know why it's not a standard. It may start becoming a standard, but just that extra security of that top lock, making sure that thing's never going to come undone, is super nice. I think it's a very I think there's fish blowing up over there. It's a very like ease of mind, like creature comfort thing, like knowing that you can be fishing this thing all day and you don't have to ever worry about tightening it back up, because it's not going to loosen both of those nuts. So again, it needs to become an industry standard if it's not already. And maybe not on like jig rods and stuff, but on a swim bait rod, if you guys are making swim bait rods and you want to sell them, put the double lock on it. It's legit. Working our way up the rod a little bit, we have the double-footed Fuji guides. I love these things, haven't bent them out. I will say I have kept the neoprene sock on this rod that it comes with. Free sock with every rod you buy off of Cotter rods. But the double-footed rod, or the double-footed eyelets, are super nice. I leave this on the boat when I'm fishing with guys on the boat, and sometimes people aren't paying attention, they might step on it or whatever else it may be, and these eyelets don't bend. It's super nice. I never realized how much single-footed eyelets suck until like I watched somebody step on a jig rod and I just watched the eyelet go lay flat against the blank, and I'm like, wow, double-footed, you have a lot more security with that. You can pull on these things pretty hard and they're not going to bend. That's another thing that needs to become a standard issue for other rods on the market, because wow, It may not seem like a lot, but that can take a lot of brunt of force and it still stays straight. You know, once you start bending this stuff, it's not like it's super thick components. Once you start bending these eyelets and stuff, you know, one time you might go to bend it back and you might have an eyelet in your finger and your rod over here. So the double-footed guides are just everything about this rod is what needs to become standard in the rod community, because man, it may seem like it's over the top, but just from a form and function standpoint, you can abuse this thing and you're not going to worry about stuff breaking, in my opinion. Okay, so now that we kind of got my thoughts, I really like the trigger. I guess that's just kind of a minor thing. Every rod has a trigger, so I really like this one. I think it's just a Fuji. If I had to guess, it's Fuji or maybe something else. I'm not a rod component builder, so what do I know? But I like it. I hold my rods with my pinky underneath the trigger and my other 3 above it, and usually my thumb right here on the head of the reel, and I just crank it like that. Going into like the action of the rod, I will say this thing, when I recorded that video, I was kind of, I wasn't sure what I was gonna fish on it, and the answer to that is everything. I mean, I fish all sorts of swim baits on this thing, crank downs, big glide baits, small glide baits. I mean, it can really do it all. I skip with this thing like it's a legit rod. It can really do anything. That 2 to 8 ounce was very, very accurate. I fished the 86 Andromeda on this thing. I fished the throwback Metro and the Retro on this thing. Fished my 7-inch Citizens on this thing. I mean, it really does a lot. The one thing I really like about this rod, if you guys aren't familiar with those match hatch gobies that JP makes, it's a 6-inch goby bait, really good for like our region of the Great Lakes area. 6-inch goby bait, it's a line through, so you fish it kind of like a jig. You kind of like hop it over structure and stuff. What I have found with that bait is I can fish that thing, and when I feel my rod start to, or when I watch my line start to jump and I can see the fish start to eat the bait, I can reel down to it. And what I've been doing with my soft baits is like I'll reel down and I'll kind of still drag it. And this rod, the tip is light enough that it'll start to load, like you can slowly start to feel that weight load up. And that's when I reel down and set the hook. You know, I'm not gonna be, I have been like in the middle of a retrieve and just have a bite and sweep into it, but I've really come to learn with this rod that I can reel into these fish with the tip, and that tip will, let's see if we can get it on camera here. I can reel down to those fish and that tip will slowly start to load up. I can reel down the rest of the way and really give it to them. It's been a little bit of a learning curve, but wow, is it nice for this rod. It has a tip in the backbone. It kind of ends out at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Probably around the 8th guide it starts to flatten out. So there's 10 guides on this rod if I'm counting correctly. 10 guides, that 8th guide, 3rd one from the bottom is really where the parabolic ends, and I've really come to like that. You know, it's parabolic enough that when a fish, you know, jumps or makes a run or whatever, the rod will load up and it won't unload directly too, but it's also like I'm not fishing a noodle. I can cast out the Andromeda out there and I can feel it, and I don't feel like my rod is gonna touch my fingertips when I go to cast it. Like it's got some backbone to it, and I've really come to like that. It was kinda interesting, the clips I'm showing you guys here, like that pike video was the first, or that pike catch was the first fish I had caught on this rod, and I wasn't too familiar with like how it loaded up and stuff, but I've really come to like that. It's not a super whippy rod by any means, and I think that's why I can get away with fishing like a bottom jig bait like that goby, the Godzilla goby, or even like the Citizen and stuff. I can get away with that because yeah, we've got some tip, but once you work it past that tip, you have some backbone to really leverage those fish and leverage those hooks in there. Treble hooks, I say this, I don't know if I can count really how many fish I've lost with this rod. I don't think I've lost many fish at all this year, and I can tell you it's not because of my netting abilities. If you guys have ever seen me fish off the paddleboard, I get really excited with that net when those fish are still 10 yards out there. So I really think it's because the rod is loaded up and it doesn't really unload too fast. It has some bend to it to where those fish, I can kind of start to drag them up and try to get the net under there before they're actually ready. I don't know. I'm just convinced that this rod has made me a better angler. You can feel a lot of input with this rod when you're fishing that Godzilla goby. Out on Lake Michigan, like there's ripples of sand, like where there's waves and stuff and where there's sediment. I can feel, I texted JP this and then I texted Nick from Cotter about this. You can feel the goby like climbing over those little rubbles of sand. It's a really weird thing. Or like when you're dragging a Citizen, you can feel that beast hook like even keel all the way across the bottom, like if it's hitting rocks and stuff. Super fun. And going back to the tip, it is pretty tippy, like whippy up at the tip. So I can fish the Metro and I can whip this thing, and you can see the rod on the glide. I noticed it fishing the first day I noticed it, and I texted Nick and I was like, man, this is like really responsive at the tip. It's really, really nice. Like, that's something that I like. I can watch my glide bait work through the tip of the rod, which maybe some guys wouldn't like that, but for me, it's pretty unique in that aspect. Like, I can see it, and then you just reel into the fish, or you set the hook like a madman like I do. It doesn't really matter. This rod has been through a lot. I do keep the neoprene sock on it, like I said. That's just for my safety, because I leave it, or I pull it in and out of my truck quite a bit. I have a Tacoma, so an 8-foot rod just barely fits in there, so having a rod sock in there so it doesn't scrape against anything, I think has saved me quite a bit. These 807 blanks that Nick uses are absolutely legit. This is the Revival series, but he has the Carbon Air and the original 8s too. Those are the ones that he's currently making. Can't recommend these rods enough. Nick makes an absolutely beautiful rod. It is pretty simple, but it's a clean build. All Nick's rods, in my opinion, are super clean, super slick, and this one just matches his lineup so well. So if you guys are interested in picking up a Cotter rod, check out cotterrods.com. Tell him Adrian sent you, because his rods are beautiful. They work. I love this thing. I fish this thing all the time. I was fishing this thing as a jig rod a couple weeks ago because that's all I had. I fish weightless Senkos on it when I'm going bow fishing. Like, it can do everything, and it really drives that hook in with whatever bait you're using. And can't recommend this rod enough. So my review is this rod is absolutely awesome. If you guys can pick one up, if you're interested, check them out. It's a legit rod. There's really nothing I can say negative about it, and I've put this thing through a lot of problems. I've caught so many 4s and 5s with it already this year. Looking to break that 6 mark with it, but man, catching some big pike, some big bowfin, some big largemouth, some big smallmouth, flipping everything. I think I've probably flipped, 60% of the fish I've caught with this thing, and I mean flipped them up, not even just in the boat, like up on a seawall 6 feet down on the pier heads, and flipping 4.5-pound smallmouth up on it. Like, this rod can take a beating. I think I've given Nick some gray hairs with some of the videos I've sent him of me flipping fish, like some 5.5s into the boat with like no momentum, just high sticking them straight up with my hand all the way up here. Like, I will say I'm not the best at trying to be careful on my stuff, but I think that's a good selling point, that these rods can take a beating and they're gonna be okay. Absolutely beautiful. Go check them out, guys. Nick, thank you for building such a beautiful rod on such a beautiful blank. Freaking love this thing. If you guys are looking for a 2 to 8 ounce rod, check them out. The 807 from Cotter Rods. Absolutely awesome. He's got a couple on his site right now, so if you guys are interested, you can go pick yourself up one. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you guys next time. Alrighty, I lied. I've got to stop here and try. I just watched one porpoise. Oh, so much for having a neoprene sock on, right? Like it just said I always have on. See that? He's staring me down right now. Oh! Oh no! I just got done filming the video too. Had to stop here to take a picture for somebody. Frick.